right, 25 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. Hope you're doing well. It's time for News Bites. This is where we take the news from around the world, around the nation, around the state, and we deliver it in short form. We abbreviate it. We get to the point, cut to the chase, and give you a chance to get on with your life. We call it News Bites. We will also tell you the news agency we're getting the story from so that you can look up the story yourself and see the details of the story, since we will only give you a thumbnail sketch, if you will, of the story. We will start with this one from the Associated Press. Pope Francis has asked for forgiveness this morning from people who were sexually abused by priests and vowed that there will be no going back in the church's fight to protect children. Pope Francis made the off-the-cuff remarks after coming under criticism from victims' advocacy groups for a perceived lack of attention to the problem and ongoing demands that he sanction bishops who covered up for pedophiles. In his remarks to members of the International Catholic Child Bureau, a French Catholic network of organizations that protects children's rights, Pope Francis said he felt called to take it upon himself and ask forgiveness for the evil that some priests had committed against children. The church is aware of this damage. He was quoted as saying by Vatican Radio, "We don't want to take a step back in dealing with this problem and the sanctions that must be imposed. On the contrary, I think we must be even stronger. You don't play around with the lives of children," unquote.
The U.S. government is refusing to grant German Chancellor Angela Merkel access to her NSA file or answer formal questions from Germany about its surveillance activities, raising the stakes before a crucial visit by the German Chancellor to Washington. Merkel will meet Barack Obama in 3 weeks on her first visit to the U.S. Capitol since documents leaked by whistleblower Edward Snowden revealed that the NSA had been monitoring her phone. The face-to-face meeting between the two world leaders had been intended as an effort to publicly heal wounds after the controversy, but Germany remains frustrated by the White House's refusal to come clean about its surveillance activities in the country, reported by The Guardian.
And the next story is from ABC News. A fed-up Attorney General Eric Holder is accusing congressional critics of launching unprecedented, unwarranted, ugly, and divisive attacks on him and the Obama administration. During a speech to the National Action Network, a group founded by Reverend Al Sharpton in New York on Wednesday, lauding the organization's effort to advance racial equality, a heated Holder went a little off script, saying, quote, "Forget about me specifically. Look at the way the Attorney General of the United States was treated yesterday by a House committee." Holder made those statements to a crowd. He went on to say, "What Attorney General has ever had to deal with that kind of treatment? What president has ever had to deal with that kind of a treatment?" Unquote. And again, the story is from ABC News.
Advocates of solar power rallied on the steps of the state capitol, calling on Florida lawmakers to put more emphasis on renewable and alternative energy. But former Governor Charlie Crist told the crowd it's going to take a change in the Capitol to change state policy. This is a quote from Crist. "There is a cloud blocking the sun from coming in, and its name is Rick Scott." Organizers of this rally say the Sunshine State should be number 1 in solar power, but the latest ranking puts Florida at number 18. They blame the big power companies, saying Duke, FP&L, Gulf Power, and TECO use their influence in the legislature to keep the lid on solar power, reported by the Florida News Network.
And I'm not so sure if this is a restory. This is an old story. Why is it? A 10th grader, let me just read it here. It's just released a few minutes ago. It says, at least 22 injured in a mass stabbing at a Pennsylvania high school. A 10th grader suspected of committing a stabbing rampage in a Pennsylvania high school on Wednesday has been charged as an adult with 4 counts of attempted homicide. Maybe it's just an update. He's been charged as an adult. The suspect identified, it's the same story, 16-year-old Alex Schreibel injured at least 22 people before being taken into custody, according to the Associated Press. I won't read any more. It's obviously a new story because he is now, they have decided to charge him as an adult. It sounds like that's the story right there.
A picture of San Francisco International Airport has been prominently placed in a propaganda magazine published by Al-Qaeda. CBS station KPIX-TV is reporting. Al-Qaeda magazine is encouraging car bombs in U.S. cities. The FBI insists there is no specific threat to the San Francisco Bay Area. In the spring issue of the Al-Qaeda magazine Inspire, a picture of the air train at San Francisco is featured prominently. The air train connects all the airport terminals with the Bay Area Rapid Transit Light Rail System, known as BART, terminal garages, and the rental car center. Below the photo, a caption in Arabic reads, "Stand up, pack your tools of destruction, assemble your bomb, ready for detonation," reported by CBS.
And this story is from VB News, an agency I don't think we've used before. Google has announced that it will allow anyone in the United States to buy Google Glass this Tuesday, but shop quickly because you only have one day to buy them. Unfortunately, Google says spots are limited. Given the level of hype that Glass has received, it'll be tough to secure a pair. If you're interested in fighting for a face computer, also called Google Glass, you can try buying Glass online on April 15th. As usual, it'll set you back $1,500. On the upside, Google plans to throw in its new designer frames. Google decided to announce the news after some leaked documents surfaced on The Verge. Google is having trouble selling Glass as a consumer device. The developer prototype, as the company is calling its current iteration, I guess the current one, has so far found its happiest consumers in industry, military, healthcare, and enterprise situations. The New York Police Department is testing Glass for use by officers in the field. The U.S. Air Force, not to be left out, is also getting into Glass and even building apps for battlefield use. Hospitals, especially surgeons, are also using Glass. Finally, Google itself is plugging Glass for the workplace. Anyway, they're putting it up for sale. This Tuesday is the day. They're not going to sell it after Tuesday, although that could be. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of that, but that's what it says. I'm just telling you what it says.
At least 9 people were killed yesterday when a tour bus carrying Los Angeles area high school students crashed in Northern California. This is according to the California Highway Patrol. The students were set to visit Humboldt State University for a college tour. CHP officials first reported 7 students were killed in the crash, but later would only confirm that 7 passengers died and would not say if they were students. The tour bus collided with the FedEx's tractor trailer and Nissan Altima on Interstate 5 near Orland, California, about 5:40 p.m. The 9 fatalities included the tour bus driver and the FedEx truck driver. Dozens more were injured. The FedEx truck was heading south when it crossed the center line and hit the northbound bus head-on, causing the bus to erupt into flames. The reason the FedEx crashed or how the Nissan Altima was involved was not clear. Nearly 50 people were on board, including the students, a few chaperones, and the driver. The group of students from Los Angeles and Riverside school districts were heading to Humboldt University's Spring Preview Day this weekend, reported by NBC News.
And there is an update on that story. I'll just interject it. The death toll has risen to 10. This is the crash between the FedEx semi-tractor trailer. 5 of those who died are high school students.
Oh my
so
God.
far. 10 is the total that they're releasing. 5 are high school students. The story I have here is from AP, the Associated Press, with a single phrase of compassion for immigrants in the United States illegally. Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, has prompted questions about his viability as a potential presidential contender and underscored how divisive the immigration issue remains for the Republican Party. The former governor of Florida sparked a conservative furor this week when he described illegal immigration in an interview as an act of love by people trying to provide for their families. Backing Bush are some of the Republican Party's most powerful insiders and financiers who are hoping the party can woo Hispanic voters and rebound from Mitt Romney's damaging self-deportation rhetoric in 2012.
A Florida bill that gives you the right to carry your guns without a concealed carry permit is ready for final passage in the Florida House. Representative Heather Fitzenhagen says it's a narrow Representative Heather Fitzenhagen says it's a narrow exemption that would only apply during an emergency when you've been ordered to evacuate. This is a quote from Fitzenhagen. Yes, you are able to take your weapon when you are fleeing for your life and you are in fear, and you want to make sure you do not leave your weapon behind and you protect your family. You may have it on your person when you are evacuating. Some lawmakers have a real problem with the bill. They say they're worried about what happens when you have a bunch of pistol-packing refugees in the midst of an emergency, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from CNN, websites are racing to patch the Heartbleed bug, the worst security hole in the internet that the internet has ever seen. As sites fix the bug on their end, it's time for you and I to change our passwords. The Heartbleed bug allows information leaks from a key safety feature that is supposed to keep your online communication private, like email, banking, shopping, and passwords. Don't change all your passwords yet, though. If a company hasn't yet updated its site, you still can't connect safely. A new password would be compromised as well, according to the report. Many companies are not informing their customers of the danger or asking them to update their login credentials. So that's it. That's the story from CNN.
There is a vast inequality among people who live past their 100th birthday. This is according to newly published data from the Census Bureau. 81% of the Americans 100 years old and older during the 5-year period covered in the Census Bureau's report, which includes years 2007 through 2011, were women, while only 19% were men. The total number of centenarians, the Census Bureau reports, was 54,956, including 44,644 women and 10,312 men. The centenarians tended to share another characteristic besides their age and sex. Very few were divorced, reported by CNS News.
And this is from the Associated Press. The panicky 911 caller said a man with a 10-inch butcher knife was threatening people. So when Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies saw a wounded, bloody man rush out of a West Hollywood apartment with someone on his heels, they opened fire. But the man they gunned down Monday night was not a mad slasher. He was a fleeing hostage. John Winkler, who is 30 years old, an aspiring television producer, died at a hospital. Taking the life of an innocent person is a police officer's greatest nightmare, is a quote from interim Los Angeles County Sheriff John Scott. He made that statement at a news conference yesterday. The entire department mourned Winkler's death. Winkler was hanging out with some friends who lived in the apartment below him on Palm Avenue when a man who also lived in that apartment, Alexander McDonald, climbed over the balcony with a knife, according to Sheriff's Homicide Lieutenant David Coleman. McDonald was in an incoherent state of mind, seemed very paranoid, which was uncharacteristic of him. McDonald took his roommate Winkler and another man hostage, then flew into a rage and began stabbing and fighting with them. We don't know what caused his rage or what caused his outburst, and it was unclear whether drugs were involved. Someone called 911, and arriving deputies were told the hostage taker was a thin man in a black shirt. The door suddenly opened, and a man with blood spurting from his neck entered the doorway with Winkler, who was a thin man wearing a black shirt, running after him. Police thought it was the attacker. They shot him, and he, of course, died. Wow, sad story. That's from Los Angeles, from the Associated Press.
U.S. stocks fell, with the NASDAQ Composite Index sinking the most since 2011 as technology shares resumed a sell-off on concerned valuations are too high as earnings season begins. Treasury rates sank to a 3-week low on speculation interest rate increases won't be accelerated. The NASDAQ Composite Index sank 3.1% at 4 p.m. in New York to a 2-month low that erased its gain this year. The Standard & Poor's 500 index lost 2.1% to the lowest since February 19th. The 10-year Treasury note fell 5 basis points to 2.64%, reported by Bloomberg.
A manhunt across Florida ended yesterday with the surrender of a driver blamed in the deadly crash at a daycare center that injured 14 people and killed a 4-year-old girl who was sitting in a classroom awaiting her afternoon snack. Robert Alex Corchado turned himself in in and was charged with leaving the scene of a deadly accident almost precisely 24 hours after the KinderCare facility in Winter Park was torn open in the wreck. He was being held on $100,000 bond, according to the Orange County Corrections Department. His attorney confirmed his client turned himself in, but refused further comment.
NATO has released satellite images of the Russian military buildup on Ukraine's eastern border. A powerful concentration of fighter planes, helicopters, artillery, infantry, and special forces, which officials say could be ready to move with just 12 hours' notice. The images appear to undermine official suggestions from Moscow that there is nothing unusual about the troop movements, nor any reason to be alarmed. The pictures show rows of hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles apparently waiting for orders in fields and other temporary locations around 30 miles from the frontier. The images taken in the past 2 weeks show some of what NATO said was around 100 staging areas that were almost entirely unoccupied in February, reported by The Guardian.
And this next story is from CBS. Black female lawmakers are urging Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel to reconsider revised Army regulations that ban hairstyles frequently worn by minority women in the military. 16 female members of the Congressional Black Caucus signed a letter yesterday to Hagel stating that the changes are discriminatory rules targeting soldiers who are women of color. They say that references in the rule calling hairstyles worn mostly by black women unkempt and matted are offensive and show a lack of cultural sensitivity.
The topless woman in the viral video that shows her destroying cash registers and a refrigerator at a McDonald's restaurant has been identified as 41-year-old Sandra Suarez of Pinellas Park, Florida. The report states that Suarez was arrested after the incident. She told police she went berserk after her sexual advances were rejected by an employee at the restaurant. The report states that Suarez was not on drugs or alcohol at the time. Suarez was taken to Northside Hospital in St. Petersburg, where doctors concluded that drugs and alcohol were not to blame for her erratic behavior. Reporters from WTVT say that Suarez told them that an employee at the fast food restaurant in Pinellas Park rejected her offer of oral sex in the parking lot. Suarez, a mother of two, was charged with criminal mischief and resisting arrest. She was released on a $7,000 bond.
Things women will say that you'll never forget. That's one of them.
That's right.
The next story is from CNN. A team of scientists has concluded that a controversial scrap of papyrus that purportedly quotes Jesus referring to his wife is not fake, according to the Harvard Theological Review. A quote from Harvard Divinity School says, quote, a wide range of scientific testing indicates that a papyrus fragment containing the words, Jesus said to them, my wife is in an ancient document dating between the 6th to 9th centuries CE or AD in our world, right? Scientists tested the papyrus and the carbon ink and analyzed the handwriting and grammar, according to Harvard. Radiocarbon tests conducted at Harvard and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology produced an origination date for the papyrus at 659 to 859 CE, Common Era, also known as AD. According to Harvard, MIT also studied the chemical composition of the papyrus and patterns of oxidation.
A Republican U.S. congressman from Louisiana who was caught on video kissing a married staffer should resign and is an embarrassment to his state, party, and Congress, the state's party chairman said yesterday. Party chairman Roger Velour urged Representative Vance McAllister to resign in a written statement at about the same time that U.S. House Speaker John Boehner told reporters that McAllister has got decisions that he has to make. I expect all members to be held to the highest ethical standards, Boehner said. Boehner also said that he had spoken privately with Mr. McAllister, who is married and took office last November in a special election that saw him promote his Christian values, reported by Reuters.
And the next story is from Time. in the company's in Amazon's annual letter to shareholders, Amazon chief Jeff Bezos revealed what has to be the most counterintuitive personnel policy in corporate America today. If an employee isn't happy working at the online retail giant, they can earn up to $5,000 just for quitting. Bezos describes it as one of the company's better ways to do things internally, called pay to quit. The program is pretty simple, Bezos says. Once a year, we offer to pay our associates to quit. The first year the offer is made, it's for $2,000. Then it goes up $1,000 a year until it reaches $5,000. The headline on the offer is, "Please don't take this offer." Pay to quit started at Amazon-owned Zappos, and the parent company adopted the concept for its fulfillment centers. On one hand, it sounds backwards. Companies pay their employees to work, not to not work. Then again, this is a company that isn't afraid to flirt with wacky ideas like delivering merchandise on an unmanned drone aircraft. It's a Harvard Business Review blog post. In that post, examining the practice at Zappos back in 2008, the author and Fast Company co-founder Bill Taylor says the quit money, it was $1,000 per employee back then, worked out costing less than the online shoe retailer would have lost if unmotivated employees put the brakes on its fast-paced corporate culture.
Beleaguered Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius will resign today. This is according to a White House official confirmation. Mrs. Sebelius, who bore much of the criticism for the flawed Obamacare website's rollout in October, will be replaced by Sylvia Burwell, director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. Mrs. Sebelius's departure comes as the Obama administration tries to move beyond the botched launch of Obamacare and implement the program, whose enrollment period ended March 31st. The administration said it has enrolled more than 7.5 million people under the Obamacare Affordable Care Act, exceeding its target of 7 million, reported by the Washington Times.
And from the Associated Press, a strong earthquake damaged dozens of houses in western Nicaragua yesterday, and authorities say at least 23 people were injured by falling ceilings, beams, and walls. The 6.1 magnitude quake caused panicked Nicaraguans to run into the streets, and callers to local radio stations complained that electricity and water services had been disrupted in their areas. Apparently, hardest hit was the town of Nagarote, along with the communities around it, where more than 100 houses were damaged, according to Guillermo Gonzalez, director of the Disaster Prevention Agency. Nagarote is located about 30 miles northwest of the capital of Managua.
Former President Jimmy Carter took a jab at President Barack Obama and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton over their handling of Middle East peace negotiations in an interview published yesterday. Heralding the nation's current top diplomat, John Kerry, the former Democratic president told Time magazine that he has great admiration for Kerry, and the two stay in touch frequently through email. He has had a very difficult time operating pretty much on his own, Carter is quoted as saying about Kerry's role in the Mideast peace process. "I know from experience that the best way to have the United States be a mediator is for the president himself to be deeply involved," reported by CNN.
And from the Associated Press, Hillary Clinton ducked a thrown shoe, expressed surprise, and cracked a couple of jokes that drew applause, and continued her keynote speech on stage in front of a Las Vegas convention audience. Moments later, still in the stage spotlight, the former Secretary of State reflected calmly on what she called an atmosphere and attitude in politics that said she said rewards inflexibility and extremism. That is not the way democracy works, Clinton said, as she fielded apologies and questions yesterday from Jerry Sims, the outgoing chairman of and a host of the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. People bring their beliefs and their concerns to the table and work them through, Clinton said. Meanwhile, a woman was taken into federal custody after admitting that she threw the shoe. She did not say why she threw it, though.
IRS Commissioner John Koskikin's comments made it clear that the IRS's actions are designed to control the battle space of the election this coming fall to keep conservative groups on the sidelines. This is an attack. That's just the way we have to put it. It's an attack on the First Amendment rights of our citizens.
All right, we've got to move forward. Fox News is coming up now. Robin, do you know how many stories we were able to
27.
get? 27, not bad. All right, we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. Jim George is up next.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu.
All of a sudden, I heard a sonic boom, and the house shook.
One woman in Northern California near the scene of the fiery crash on Interstate 5 after a FedEx truck collided with a bus carrying high school students. At least 10 people are dead. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, whose agency was blamed for the rocky rollout of the Obamacare website, is stepping down.
Despite early website glitches, more than 7 million Americans enrolled in a plan to the federal and state exchanges, exceeding expectations even here in the West Wing. President Obama will announce the resignation this morning and nominate his budget director, Sylvia Matthews-Burwell, to be the new HHS secretary.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. And a woman taken into federal custody in Las Vegas after throwing a shoe at Hillary Rodham Clinton as she was giving a speech on stage. Fox News, we report, you decide.
And now, another golf confessional brought to you by Golfsmith. Recently, a man told us he'd finally learned to deal with his anthropophobia, an overwhelming fear of other people. How? He went to Golfsmith and got the Nike VRS Covert 2.0 driver with its high-speed cavity-back design. Now he hits the ball so far, he doesn't have to be around anyone on the course. You don't need a psychological disorder to get the Nike VRS Covert 2.0 driver. You just need to go to Golfsmith. Anything for golf.
Want to start reading Marvel Comics? There's no better time than Marvel Now. Each week, look for exciting stories that provide a gateway into the Marvel Universe. It's one-of-a-kind kung fu action and award-winning writer-artist Carrie Andrews' beautifully rendered Iron Fist, the living weapon #1. Plus, don't miss all new heroes and villains and the start of Marvel's next big epic in Inhuman #1. All new Marvel Now. The biggest creators, the best characters, all new, all now. Find new series and starting points every week in comic shops on the Marvel Comics app.
Hi, Robin. Congratulations on 10 years with the radio station. I always look forward to hearing your sweet voice and your infectious laugh. Keep up the good work. Thanks for being there all the time. Bye.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Bobby, this is Marisol from the Literacy Council wishing you a happy anniversary. Thank you for all you do for your community. You are a very special person to me and to a lot of people in this county. Thank you. Happy anniversary.
Yeehaw! Howdy, folks. RL here to invite you to DQ. Dairy Queen is serving the crispiest, juiciest, most tasty chicken tenders, all beef chili dogs, and quarter-pound cheeseburgers on earth. And you get crispy fries, a drink, and an ice cream sundae of your choice for only $5. Remember, at DQ, you can lick their cones, but you can't beat their shakes. Dairy Queen, Silver Springs, where they always treat you like kings and queens.
Hello, Robin. This is your friend, Mike Sizemore. Congratulations on reaching this important milestone in your career. People listen to radio personalities for entertainment and information, and that is why I listen to you and Larry.